Lotus is here! That's different. Shouldn't Lotus be dead by the elevator right about now? All sounds ceased for Junpei. The world was an empty, muffled expanse. Then he began to hear his own breathing. Oh my god. The fact that I'm seeing this after Clover killed me the other time, I don't know how to feel about this. Jun's mouth moved, but he heard nothing. She tried once more, and then her energy was gone, and she collapsed against the wall. He could have helped her, but he hadn't, and now she was dead. So he stood there, frozen in place. He forced his body to move. Each step felt like another nail pounded into his heart. Finally, he was in front of her. He knelt and placed 3 fingers against Clover's neck. No pulse, no breath. But she was still warm, and her eyes were closed peacefully. It would have been easy to think she was asleep. Easy, that is, were it not for the slowly expanding puddle of blood beneath her. He traced its source to her back. A gash just beneath her shoulder blade. Was the weapon a knife, perhaps? The knife again! If it was a knife, the killer had taken it when they left. When he closed his eyes, he saw Clover smile. Her innocent smile. Her energy. He would never see her smile again. He could have done something. He could have helped her. His stomach twisted itself into a sickening knot. Junpei lifted a limp Jun from the floor and carried her from the bathroom. It was a foolish question, and he knew it. Her voice was weak. The fever had gone down, but the emotional scars she'd received were not likely to recede as quickly. Junpei laid his hand on her shoulder, and they walked back to the bedroom.
しばらく休んだ方がいい。ほら、このベッドだ。座れるか？
はい。
She nodded once and stared at the floor. There were 4 others in the room. Ace, Lotus, Santa, and 7. Is that everybody? 4, me, Jun, that's 6, Clover, 7. Yup, that's everybody. They all stared at nothing, their faces drawn and tired. After a while, they drifted into the bathroom to see Clover's corpse themselves. Once everyone was back in the bedroom, Junpei walked slowly to the center of it and looked around as the slumped figures gathered there.
死体の第一発見者は？
俺だよ。
Yes, this makes sense because you, me, and Snake are the only 3 people who should know that this door is even open to begin with. Snake? 7 spoke from behind Junpei. He turned around. 7's hand was up.
どうしてこの部屋に？
決まってるだろう。四つ葉を探すためだ。
But Clover doesn't know that this room is open.
すると、バスルームの中に 彼女の死体が。俺は慌てて部屋を飛び出し、みんなを呼んだ。カジノバーの脇にある階段の上、そこから声を放ってな。おい、みんな来てくれ。大変なことになった。一等戦士とバスルームだ。さあ早く。俺はそれだけ告げて、もう一度バスルームに引き返した。一宮、サンタ、ヤシロの3人が飛び込んできたのは、それから間もなくのことだ。だが、いくら待っても、順平と紫が姿を現す気配はなかった。そこで俺は、お前ら2人を探すべく、あの階段を駆け下りていって、あとは、言わなくてもわかるだろ
う。Junpei nodded and closed his eyes. There was one more thing he needed to ask.
セブン、一つ気になってることがあるんだが。
なんだ？
お前、この部屋の探索を終えて脱出したとき、ドアの隙間に譜面のプレートを挟み込んでたよな。あれはなぜだ？
だから言っただろ。ロックがかからないようにするためだよ。
But why?
いつでもこの部屋に戻ってこれるように。って、お前まさか、俺のこと疑ってんのか？
No! Is this all the evidence we need? Can I say it? Can I say it, Snake?
さあ、どうだろうな。返答次第によっちゃ、容疑者の最有力候補にもなりかねないぜ。
ったくよ。
Seven sighed and shook his head.
仕方ねえ。ついてきてくれ。
There were two doors standing next to one another. He opened the one on the right.
そこは、クローゼットか？
Oh, it's coming back to play now, finally. It's still closed.
ああ。
Seven stepped inside. He stood in front of one of the shelves that filled it and gestured toward a small box. The box was a small metal cube. He looked at Junpei.
理由はこいつにある。この金庫だ。結局、部屋から脱出するまで、俺たちはこいつを開くことができなかった。だがもしかしたら、中に何か重要なもんでも隠されてるかもしれねえだろう。そう思うと、気になって仕方がなくてな。
You could have just said it out loud.
ひょっとしたら、いつかどこかでこいつのダイヤル番号が判明することになるかもわからねえ。そうなった時にわざわざ表の5の扉を開くのは面倒だ。だから出口の方の扉に譜面のプレートを。あった。
ああ。
Numbers. Right, the dialogue has numbers. Junpei nodded and looked at the safe. He grabbed the handle and shook it.
まあ、開かないよな。
It was as locked as it had been when Seven found it. There was one change, however.
これは？
Just underneath the safe was a pile of fine reddish-brown powder.
サビだ。
Junpei stared at it, considering.
ここにサビが落ちてるってことは、誰かがこの金庫の扉を開いたってことか。
Oh? Junpei left the closet. Seven followed him back to the bedroom. It was cold and quiet. No one spoke. They sat, frozen in place by shock and grief and fatigue. The room felt tiny and oppressive, and the thick metallic smell of blood filled the room. Junpei turned and headed for the living room. Anything to get out of there.
何か手がかりはないのかよ。犯人を突き止めるための手がかりは。
As quickly as they could, they searched around and under the beds and in the corners. His eyes caught on the door. The door that led to the passageway of the door number 5. Oh my god. No, no, no. Please don't tell me the 9 bracelet is gone.
確か、あのドアの向こうは、9番の男の死体がある場所だったか。念のため調べておくか。
Oh my god. Is the body even there? Quietly, he pushed open the door. The smell hit him like a blow to the face.
なんだよこれ。匂いで頭がおかしくなりそうだ。
His lungs contracted, unwilling to inhale such fetid air. Acid boiled up from the base of his stomach, churning what little food was there into a violent froth. It was too much for him, and he vomited. A thin stream of yellow water and bile splattered onto the floor. Ew. He wiped his mouth weakly and stared at the dead body. Chunks of torn flesh lay in an arc around the body. What remained of its intestines had slid out onto the floor. The pool of the blood that framed it was half dry, but so thick that it had taken on a texture not unlike that of an egg yolk prepared sunny side up. Ugh. Oh! It's not there! It's not there! On the floor, next to the broken mass of the man's head, lay his glasses, cracks spidering across the lenses. The bloodstains near them had already dried like scabs on the floor.
Oh.
That was when he noticed.
ない。バングルがなくなってる。間違いなくメガネの脇に転がっていたはずなのに。
But now, it was gone. The number 9 bracelet was gone.
なぜだ。どうして。
Remember what I wrote on my flowchart today? Fuck. Had someone taken it? He was turning it over and over in his mind when he heard Seven's voice.
あれJunpeiの野郎どこ行っちまったんだ
It had drifted out to him from the living room. Junpei walked slowly out of the hallway.
ああ、いたいた。通路の方を調べてたのか
Seven looked up as Junpei entered the room.
ああ。
何か見つかったか
He thought for a moment before he responded. He's not going to tell because he doesn't know who did it.
いや、何も。
Technically, it wasn't a lie. He hadn't found anything. In a way, in fact, that was the problem. Something he'd expected to find hadn't been there. The 9th man's bracelet.
それよりも、どうしたんだ
ああ、ちょっと見てもらいたいものがあってな。
見てもらいたいもの
Seven led Junpei back to the bathroom.
四つ葉。
As Clover's corpse came into view, he felt his heart flip and then fall to the bottom of his stomach. Something between a sigh and a groan escaped his lips.
なんだよ、見てもらいたいものって。
His voice was hollow and empty.
もう一度、改めて四つ葉の死体を調べてみたんだ。
As expected of a detective.
無残なもんだった。背中から一突き、ナイフか何かで刺されたらしい。それと、こいつを見つけたな。
As he spoke, he moved around Clover's head, then knelt down and flipped open her right hand.
なんだ
She was holding a piece of paper.
中はまだ見てねえ。現場保存は捜査の鉄則だからな。と言いつつ、実は一つだけ拝借させてもらったものもあったりするんだが。
あ
He wasn't sure what that meant, but it likely didn't matter. The paper was more important.
広げるぞ。
He picked it up and carefully opened it. There were 2 sentences written on it.
真実は去り、真実は去り、真実は去った。ああ、真実は今、ユンデの闇に眠っている。
なんだこりゃ、暗号か？
Seven peered over Junpei's shoulder at the note. Junpei stepped away from Clover's body. So the way they had it in the spoken dialogue just now, the tenses for the first 3 lines are a little bit different. It's not just the same thing repeating again and again. And into the living room. He began to pace, attempting to decode the note.
暗号か。
The first clue was likely the phrase sinister hand. Sinister hand means... the left hand?
弓を持つ方の手。左手のことだ。左手。左手。左手には何がある？
Look in her other hand? Junpei looked at his own left arm. At the bracelet on his wrist.
もしかして、ユンデの闇というのは、このバングルと何か関係があるんじゃないのか？
He examined the bracelet closely.
文字盤の左右についている流数らしきものか？
This? And this?
左右。左と右。右と左。真実は去った。真実。去った。うん。
Truth. Gone. Maybe those 2 words... Whoa. Reading it backwards? That seems like that's wrong. Reading it out loud? That's what we've been doing. How about switching the sentence around? Like how? What else could gone and truth mean?
英語にするんじゃないのか？
Oh! I was thinking about this, but I was wondering if the puzzle could translate into English and Japanese and vice versa, but it looks like this might be an English puzzle to begin with, because Junpei just said, maybe I should change those words to English.
真実は正しさ、真相という意味で解釈するなら、それを英訳したものはライトになる。
Right had gone.
一方、去ったは一語で表すとすると、まず真っ先に思い浮かぶのはレフトだ。去る。リーブの過去形のレフト。
Oh!
当然、ライト、レフトにはそれぞれ右左という意味もあるから。
Whoa, this is pretty smart of Junpei, considering that it's not even a puzzle in his own native tongue.
真実を右、去ったを左としても解釈できるな。
Junpei looked at the bracelet again.
バングルの左と右。もしかしてこの突起物か？こいつを
Pressed them in the following order. Truth had gone. Right, left. Right, left, right, left, right, left. You can press them. And then... One after another, 8 numbers flashed on, then off, of the face of Junpei's bracelet. You kidding me?
今のは
He checked one more time, to be sure. Oh!
143834221
It appears in a specific order. Some numbers repeat. except for 8 and 2. How many in total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh. And his own number doesn't show. 9 doesn't show. Well, because there's a lot of repeats.
あ？おい、なんだよ、今の数字は。
Junpei didn't answer. He couldn't answer. He had no idea what they were either. Besides, he was sure he would forget the numbers and the order they came in if he said anything.
1438321.
Muttering the numbers to himself over and over again, Junpei headed toward the bedroom. More importantly, though, who left that note for us? Clover? Clover had time to write all of that?
1438321. 1438321. 1438321. 1438321.
Before long, he found himself in front of the safe again. Whoa! What does that mean? All of us here can open the safe? It's not something particular to Junpei's bracelet, right? Its lock was the only device he could think of that required a sequence of numbers such as the ones he just discovered. Besides, someone had opened the safe at least once already. Had Clover come to the bedroom to open it?
右に1、左に4、右に。
Junpei is in the zone.
ビンゴだ。やっぱりこれだったのか。
A small, telltale sound of a lock opening. He grabbed the handle, took a deep breath, and pulled it up.
こいつは何かのメモか。
That looks suspiciously like the note that Zero left for us. Inside was a piece of paper. It was roughly the same size as the one Clover had been holding. Wait. I'm thinking back to the beginning now. Snake was the only person who had access to the rule set that Zero gave us. Because apparently Zero took pity on him because he's blind. Which, after seeing all we've seen, I'm not so sure how accurate all of what he's saying is anymore.
どれどれ。
Junpei picked it up. This is what it said. Fact number 1. The Nonary Game was played once before, 9 years ago. Fact number 2. The person with the number 2 bracelet attended the game 9 years ago. Oh. Fact number 3. It was planned by the following 4 people. Cradle Pharmaceuticals CEO. Gentaro Hongo. Cradle Pharmaceuticals Chief of Staff. Nagisa Nijisaki. Cradle Pharmaceuticals R&D Supervisor. Teruaki Kubota. Majority shareholder in Cradle Pharmaceuticals. Kagechika Musashito. I must punish them. For the innocent lives they sacrificed. This is the only warning they will receive. That innocent souls might be saved. I now state the truth. 0. Oh. Well then, this must be Ace's real name then, right? Other people? These sound like pretty high up positions, so it must be someone who is quite elderly. Well, maybe not elderly, but I'm going to assume they're not in their 20s. So within our 9 people, maybe these people aren't in here. Zero is saying that he'll punish these people. Zero of this Nonary game. Does that mean the Nonary game, the previous Zero, was not the same Zero? Is not the same Zero as this one? 9 years ago. Snake also played this game 9 years ago. He's alive today, which means he must have won that game. But at the same time, people died too. Snake is alive. Well, it makes perfect sense to me that the person who wants revenge on these shareholders is the person who made it out alive in the game. Well, more importantly, who the hell wrote this note? Or why is this note written? This is the only warning they will receive. Junpei left the closet. There were 5 people waiting for him in the bedroom. Ace, Lotus, Santa, 7, and June. He looked at each one of them in turn, then slowly placed his hands in the pockets of his vest. Is he gonna say anything? In this timeline, we do know who the CEO is, so if we say this out loud, then everyone's gonna know that Ace was responsible for the first game.
みんな、悪いがちょっと付き合ってもらえないか。
付き合う？
大病室に移動してもらいたいんだ。
どうして？
確かめておきたいことがあるんだよ。
Let's not forget that the safe was opened once before and there's some red dust powder. So whatever else was in that safe has already been taken. It's just that whoever opened it left the paper in there.
確かめるって何を？
俺が思ってる人間が本当に犯人なのかどうかをだ。
犯人ってお前？
ああ、そのともしかしたら分かっちまったかもしれないんだ。
Oh, interesting.
誰がニルスと四つ葉を殺したのか。
Are you thinking of Ace? The atmosphere in the room changed. Grief was suddenly gone, replaced by tension, like a strap of leather stretched to its limit. 5 sets of eyes stared at Junpei. He pretended to not notice.
とにかく大病室に移動してくれ。すべてはそこで話そう。
Then, almost as if on cue, the bell began to ring. They all heard it. Oh no! Then they're out of time! It was the bell from the clock in the main staircase. The bell rang 5 times, then ceased.
5時だ。
So even if we know the truth here, we might not get out. We've only got an hour left.
さあ時間がない。行こう。
Slowly, one by one, they followed Junpei out of the bedroom. Junpei sounds really in control right now.
さて、話を始める前に一つだけ頼みがある。
Junpei stopped in front of the 3-door, then turned around.
一宮、セブン、ヤシロ、そこのレッドに手のひらを乗せてくれないか。
ん？
え？どうして？シャワー室に入るのなら、向こうの数字の書かれてない扉の方から。
違うんだ。中に入るわけじゃないんだよ。だから、認証を済ませたら、すぐに扉から離れてほしい。
なんでだよ。
いいから黙って言うことを聞いてくれ。ニルスと四つ葉を殺した犯人。知りたくないのか？
I'm not sure what Junpei is trying to get at here. But since the last time he pulled something off like this, it turned out to be a pretty clever plan. I do have high expectations for this.
わかったよ。
一宮とヤシロは？
いいだろう。
わかったわ。
How the hell did the current Zero manage to get Ace on board? The guy who did the original Nonary Games, why would he... Was he kidnapped here? Oh, everybody was kidnapped here. Quickly, they pressed their palms onto the red. Once they had finished, they stepped away from the door, as Junpei had instructed. 3 asterisks shone from the red's display panel.
もし もしも、この装置が手のひらを乗せて反応する装置ではなく、
Oh?
バングルが近づいたかで反応する装置だというのなら。
That might make more sense, because why? We had this question before, like, what is actually activating the thing? There's a big misleading circle in the middle, but maybe that's not the thing activating it.
直接手を触れなくても。
Junpei approached it and held his bracelet over the scanner. He made quite sure he didn't place his palm on it, and instead only brought his bracelet near it. The fourth asterisk appeared. And that would explain how Snake is able to activate it too, because his robotic arm shouldn't activate it.
バカ。
Just as Junpei had expected, it was possible to authenticate without placing one's palm on the red, so as long as the bracelet was brought near it. Oh, is that your point then? Because Snake's arm is not, it's artificial? Junpei pulled the lever down. Door 3 opened like a hungry mouth. 9 long seconds passed. And the door shut, unfed. Junpei walked slowly back to the others, who were waiting some distance from the door, talking to one another. Santa and Jun had joined them as well. It looked as though they hadn't found a chance to break into the conversation yet. As Junpei approached, they turned to look at him, curiosity played on their faces. Before long, the other 3 did as well.
何がしたかったんだ？
I'm guessing he asked the other 3 people to do it so that he's not doing it himself and looking obviously like he's trying to figure out the whole palm thing.
さあ。
Clearly, they were all expecting some answers.
ありがとう。ご協力感謝するよ。
Clearly, they'd hoped for something more forthcoming.
時に一宮。一つ聞きたいことがあるんだが、いいかな？
なんだね。
His real name?
俺が誰だか、わかるか？
Oh, he's testing the face blindness. Well, he should be able to tell, right? Based off voice. Or maybe it's because we've only been together for 5 hours that he might not know that.
何を突然。
いいから答えてくれ。俺は誰だ？
そんなの決まってるじゃないか。淳平くんだよ。
残念、外れた。俺は、サンタだよ。
なんだと？
Ace's voice was full of surprise, but it was also tinged with confusion and fear. So Ace can tell based off the voice, but Junpei knows that he has this disease, this condition, so he's trying to make him waver. Because Ace is very obviously quite insecure about this, so any little bit of doubt will really rattle him. Everyone else looked nearly as surprised. Santa looked especially shocked to discover he was actually someone else. If he spoke, however, the trap would be exposed. Junpei quickly continued.
今俺が着てるこの服はな、順平に借りたものなんだよ。で、順平が着てるのが俺の服。つまり俺たちは服を交換したってわけだ。
そんなバカな、ありえない。
It's a very forceful way to get him to admit that he's face blind without asking him, "Hey Ace, are you face blind?" Because you could lie about that, and then after you try that out, you might lose the chance to permanently prove that he is face blind.
俺はサンタじゃないと。
当然じゃないか。
なんでだよ。どうしてサンタじゃないって思うんだ？
もしも君がサンタなら、さっきの4人では3の扉は開けないはずだ。1+7+8+3=19。1と9を足して10。数字根は1になってしまう。
Y'all fast thinkers.
にもかかわらず、我々4人の認証によって3の扉は開いた。なぜか。 それは君のバングルナンバーが3などではなく
5だからか？
Only then, when it was too late, did Ace realize his mistake. Oh, what was it? Did I miss it too? Oh? He set his jaw and glared at Junpei.
その通り。俺のバングルナンバーは5だ。
As he spoke, Junpei lifted his wrist up to show everyone the bright red 5 on his wrist. It's goddamn blue.
悪いな一宮。釜をかけさせてもらったんだよ。言うまでもなく、俺はサンタなんかじゃない。順平だ。当然のことだ。バカバカしいぐらいに当たり前の事実。
Oh, was it the fact that he used this numbering thing to prove that it's Junpei instead of just saying, "Because I can see your face. You're Junpei. You look like Junpei." A normal person wouldn't use this convoluted method to confirm that.
ところがそのバカバカしいぐらいに当たり前の事実があんたには分からなかったらしい。俺はあんたにこう聞いたよな。どうしてサンタじゃないって思うんだ？するとあんたはこう答えた。もしも君がサンタなら3の扉は開けないはずだってな。普通ならそんなことは言わない。俺がサンタじゃないことの根拠としてまず真っ先にバングルナンバーの件を挙げたりはしないんだ。普通はこう答えるだろう。たった一言だけ顔が違うってな。一宮、あんたは相貌失認症を患ってる。そうだろ。
We're exposing Ace like this right now, but I feel like maybe he can use this as like an alibi of sorts to prove that, hey, I can't know who I killed, so therefore I'm not the killer. Something like that.
相貌失認症？
The others look confused.
なんだそいつは。
さあな。
相貌失認症っていうのは。
He heard Lotus begin to explain it to them. Ace glanced at them, then turned back to Junpei and sighed.
分かったよ。認めよう。私は確かに相貌失認症だ。人間の顔を識別することができない。だからなんだと言うんだね。君は人の障害を笑って楽しいのか？
勘違いしないでくれ。笑うつもりなんかさらさらない。むしろ気の毒に思うぐらいだ。だが俺の推測が正しければニルスを殺した犯人は相貌失認症である可能性が高いんだよ。
Oh? Ace's face tightened. His eyes narrowed.
何が言いたい？
Junpei leaned casually against the iron piping of one of the beds.
ズバリよ。一宮。俺はあんたが犯人なんじゃないかって。そう思ってるんだ。
I'm not sure I follow. Or maybe it's because Junpei is currently taking advantage of the fact that nobody else knows that he knows Snake is alive. Maybe he's still trying to trick him to say something? Junpei was suddenly very aware of 5 pairs of eyes on him. He had their undivided attention now. The room had grown very, very quiet. Junpei took a deep breath.
バカバカしい。何を根拠にそんなことを？
根拠は3つある。まずは今から数時間前のことだ。この大病室にある3つの扉を前にしてあの時俺たちは議論を戦わせた。その場にいた7人全員では決して先に進むことはできない。そこで犠牲となる1人を決めるべきだとヤシロが言い出して。
No, it's okay, Lotus.
あの時一宮はこう言ったよな。自分がここに残ると。どうしてそんなことを言い出したのか。簡単なことだ。 一宮はシャワー室に転がっている死体を俺たちに見られたくなかったんだよ。
Oh? Do we need Ace to go into the shower room?
一宮が一人でここに残れば、残った6人は必ず7か8の扉、いずれかに入らざるを得なくなる。全員で先に進むとしたら3の扉、シャワー室には絶対に入れない。そのことを一宮、あんたは知ってたんだ。
You are all incredibly fast thinkers.
だから自分がここに残るなんてことを。
おいおいよしてくれ。君が私の勇敢な行為に対して嫉妬したくなる気持ちもわからないでもないが、だからといって私の美談までも貶めることはないだろう。私はただ自己犠牲の精神を持って君たちの命を救おうとしたまでだ。
What?
自己犠牲の精神ね。
His voice is so annoying, oh my god. Junpei stared off into the darkness at something very interesting and lazily began to dig a persistent bit of wax out of his ear.
あんたは知ってたんじゃないのか。どの扉を通っても最終的にはこの大病室に戻ってくることになるって。
何を言ってる？知ってるわけがないだろう。
So we know that the Nonary Games took place before, but was it the exact same setting? Exact same doors, same ship and everything?
そうかな。
そうとも。
Pleading was not something they'd heard from Ace before. Junpei pulled the piece of wax from his ear, glanced at it, and flicked it off into the darkness.
まあいいだろう。根拠はあと2つある。俺があんたを殺人犯だと考えている根拠だ。その2つ目はさっきも言った通り、あんたが相貌失認症を患ってるからだ。
人の顔を識別できないような奴は悪人に決まっているか？それは偏見というものだよ、淳平君。
違う。俺はそんなくだらない理由で人を疑ったりはしない。
それじゃなぜ？
説明の前に一つ重要な事実を伝えておこう。シャワー室に転がってる爆死体な、あれニルスじゃないから。
なんだと？
See, this is confusing me a little bit because Junpei knows that the corpse is not Snake, so why does Junpei still think Snake is dead? Ace's face went pale. The others looked confused as well. If the body wasn't Snake's...
四つ葉から聞いたんだ。ニルスの左腕は人工的に作られたものらしい。ところがシャワー室の爆死体、仮に SO とでもしておこうか。その SO の左腕は間違いなく生身の人間のそれだった。故に SO はニルスではない。
そんなバカな。
Ace had started muttering deliriously to himself, shaking his head back and forth. Junpei was long past caring.
ところで今仮に犯人が相貌失認症ではなかったと仮定してみよう。その場合犯人は SO はニルスではないということにすぐに気づいたはず。着ている服はニルスのものと同じでも顔が違うからな。一発でわかるだろう。
Huh. Wait, are you saying that Ace killed this guy meaning for him to be Snake, but he didn't realize it's not Snake? As opposed to him killing Snake and putting some random body here?
ところがどういうわけか犯人はそいつを殺してしまった。なぜ？どうして？
Well, then who the hell did he kill?
突如現れた見ず知らずの他人をどうしていきなり殺害する必要がある？一方、犯人が相貌失認症だとすれば説明がつく。そいつは SO ニルスだと誤認し殺害に及んだ。
待ちたまえ。100歩譲って私がその SO とやらをニルスだと勘違いしたとしよう。だがもしも仮にそうだったとしても私には動機がない。なんで私がニルスを殺さなければならないんだ？
理由は2つある。一つはニルスがあんたの過去を知っていたからだ。そのことをみんなにばらされてしまうのはまずい。いろいろと面倒なことになる。 そこで口封じのためにあんたはニルスを始末することにした。二つ目、さらにニルスはあんたに対しておそらく恨みを持っていたはず。あんたはもちろんそのことを知っていた。それはあんたにとっては脅威以外の何者でもなかっただろう。いつ襲いかかって来られるかもわからない。そう思うと気が気じゃなかった。あんたは戦々恐々としていた。だから一刻も早くその脅威を払拭すべく、あんたはニルスを。
なあ、ちょっと待ってくれ。
For the first time since the beginning of Junpei's explanation, someone besides A spoke.
一宮の過去って一体何があったんだ？どうしてニルスは一宮に対して恨みを？
これだよ。
なんだこの紙切れは。ノナリーゲームは今から9年前にも行われたことがある。バングルナンバー2番の者は当時のゲームにも参加している。それを画策したのはクレイドル製薬 CEO 本郷源太郎。なんだよこれ。
ゼロからのメッセージだよ。一等船室の金庫の中に入ってたんだ。
いい加減にしてまえ。
Oh! Ace's face was red and shaking, and his voice was full of fury, tinged with desperation.
そんなものはでっち上げに決まってるだろう。誰かが私を陥れようとしてるんだ。
私をって今そう言ったな。
Then that means he is the CEO and he is the person whose name is written on the paper. Junpei's eyes narrowed and the trap began to close. Ace inhaled sharply. His eyes flicked off of Junpei to something, anything else.
今の発言によってあんたは自分がクレイドル製薬の CEO 本郷であると認めたことになる。間違いないな。
It was as though a switch had been flipped. The color drained from Ace's face, and as he realized what he'd done, his eyes went wide.
ああ、そうとも認めよう。私は確かにクレイドル製薬の CEO 本郷源太郎だ。だからなんだと言うんだね。
I don't even think that's something he has to hide, because that's something that he freely told Santa and the others, right? So, we already know.
私は9年前に行われたノナリーゲームなんてものは全く知らない。その紙切れに書いてあることは全部デタラメだ。誰かが私を罠にはめるためにそんなものを。というか、そもそもだな。
Ace stammered as he tried desperately to work himself into a more tenable position.
純平君、君はさっきから私が単独犯であるかのように主張し続けているが、ここで今一度よくよく考えてもらいたい。一体どうすれば私はたった一人でニルスを殺せたりするのかな？
1 plus... Well, he could have taken the 9 bracelet, but other than that... That's a good question.
ニルスじゃない。SO だ。
そんなものはどっちでも構わん。とにかく犯人はそいつを3の扉の奥へとぶち込んだんだろう。
Oh, it does matter, because what kind of bracelet does that guy have?
ああ、おそらくな。
だったら私一人だけでは犯行は不可能だ。その SO とやらと私だけでは3の扉は開けないんだからな。
Okay, 3 door. Ace plus 9 is 10. No, plus 2 is 3. Oh, then it is the 2 bracelet then.
いや、開けるんだな。開けちまうんだよ、これが。
なんだと？
Ace's face was tight, and his teeth were clenched. Junpei fixed him with a level stare. The trap was about to close.
一宮、実はな、お前が意識を失っている間に抜き取らせてもらったものがあるんだよ。ほら、この大病室で麻酔薬を注射して眠りに落ちたことがあっただろう。あの時のことだ。 あの時俺はお前の懐からこれを。
Junpei put his hand into his pocket.
まさか。
Ha ha! Ace's right hand moved. Junpei smiled.
かかったな一宮。その右手の動きが何よりの証拠だ。当ててやろうか。コートの内ポケットに何が入ってるのか。9番のバングルだ。そうだろう。一宮 SO9 番のバングル。これら3社で認証を行えば3の扉を開くことができる。つまり SO の殺害は一宮あんた一人だけでも十分に可能ってことだよ。その懐に収められた9番のバングルさえあればな。
Wait, there are still too many questions here. Who the hell had the two bracelets, if not Snake? Ace lowered his hand from where it had stopped, halfway to his pocket. He looked down at the floor, his face hidden from Junpei. All he could see was the corner of Ace's mouth, twitching like a dying fish.
白を切るならそれでもいい。バングルなんて持っていない。強弁したければそうすればいいさ。だがそのコートだけは脱いでもらおう。それが嫌なら力ずくでも脱がせるまでだ。なあ、セブン。
おい、任せろ。
Seven cracked his knuckles with a sound like gunfire. Ace roared with laughter. He threw his arms wide and his head back and laughed, filling the room with a sound that scarcely belonged there. His arms came down, and his head dropped to look straight forward at Junpei. Ooh. His face was flat and cold, devoid of any emotion.
お見事だよ、淳平君。確かに君の言った通り、私は今、9番のバングルを持っている。入手したのは、抜き取られたレッドの基盤を全員で捜索していた時だ。あの時、担当していた個室から、こっそりと抜け出してね。
But how did he know? How was he able to make sure that the door was open? Or did he just randomly bump into the fact that Seven left that door open?
で、B デッキの一等船室へと私は向かったんだ。
His voice showed no emotion, no sense of remorse or interest. It was almost bored, as though he was reciting an especially dull corporate letter.
目的はもちろん9番のバングルを回収することにあった。このノナリーゲームにおいて9はオールマイティな存在。どんな数字に9を足しても最初の数字根は変わらない。
Zero. Zero is the same thing. 0 and 9.
つまり9はとても使い勝手のいい数字ということだ。その番号が割り振られたバングルを持っているだけでこのゲームをかなり有利に展開することができる。だから私はそれを手に入れるために一等船室へ向かったんだ。そして私は9番のバングルの回収に成功した。さらにそこで思いがけぬ収穫があってね。そう、あの男が所持していたナイフ、あれを手に入れることができたんだよ。私はそれらを回収し、速やかに一等船室を後にした。
There was another knife! The knife that the ninth man used to threaten Clover with. Where the hell did he get that?
そして階段を降りて担当の個室へ戻りかけた時、私はニルスの、いや実際には別人らしいが、その男の後ろ姿を見つけた。どうやら大病室の方へと向かっているらしいと気づいた私は、その男の後を追った。 ニルスの服を着たその男は3の扉の前に佇んでいた。私は彼のもとへ歩み寄り、その背中に向かって声をかけた。ニルスとね。男は振り返った。こうけたように開かれた口からはいかなる言葉もこぼれては来なかった。意識が朦朧としているらしい。まるで無遊病患者のようだった。
Wait, there's still a lot of questions here. Where the hell did this guy come from? And why is he wearing Snake's clothing? More importantly, how the heck did he get a tube angle? And the fact that it's someone with a similar stature to Snake, wearing his clothing and everything, it's almost like it was directly aimed for Ace's weakness, his face blindness. Which we know that Snake does know about.
何か睡眠薬のようなものでも飲んだのだろうか。その程度の疑問は浮かんだが、すぐに消えてしまった。その男のことを完全にニルスだと思い込んでしまっていた私はこう考えた。こいつは9年前のノナリーゲームのプレイヤーだ。もちろん顔なんて覚えてはいないが、目が見えないという特徴を考えれば、そのことは自明だろう。
Your voice.
だとすると、こいつは私のことを恨んでいるに違いない。にもかかわらず、どうしてこいつは今まで私に何も言ってこなかったのだろう。接触を試みるような素振りさえ見せていない。目が見えないから私のことに気づいていないのだろうか。
No way.
あるいはこいつはゼロの仲間か何かで私のことをたばかろうとしているのだろうか。いずれにせよ私の過去を知っている人間がいるのは脅威だ。
See, this is a problem here because we know that Ace is a killer and Ace is not Zero, so we have so many different killers on board. Remember Clover too.
こいつが何か仕掛けてくる前に処分しておいた方が無難だろう。私はすぐに行動を開始することにした。9番のバングルをレッドにかざし、続けて自分も認証を済ませてから最後に男の腕を掴んで少々強引にスキャナーパネルへ。
Okay, I really gotta go check back Zero's rules again because I thought that once the person dies, the bracelet just doesn't work anymore. Apparently it does?
そして開け放たれた3の扉の奥へと男を蹴り込んだのだ。その9秒後、扉は自動的に閉鎖。さらに81秒が経過し。
Wait, is this before the red stopped working? The man inside the door passed away.
その後、私は何食わぬ顔をして担当の個室へと引き返した。そして午前1時の時報を耳にしてこの大病室に戻ってきたというわけだ。
Wait, then why? Who the hell fixed this? We still don't know. Who the hell fixed the red? Ace's eyes were cold and his cheeks were hollow and pallid. When he spoke, only his lips and tongue moved. The rest of his face was eerily still. Junpei glared at Ace. He took a deep breath and thought about the next question he had to ask. He didn't want to. He knew what the answer would be. He just didn't want to hear it. Junpei swallowed, then spoke.
一宮、四つ葉を殺したのもお前だな。
その通り。
どうして？なぜ殺した？
あいつはニルスの妹だ。ニルスから何か聞いてるかもしれない、そう思ったんだよ。それにあのガキは1の扉に入ってしまった。ということはもしかしたらあれと接触してしまったかもしれない。
Remember that Clover knew she was going to die. Not in this timeline, I don't think. Was it? No, it wasn't. It was when we were with 7 and then Clover was like, Junpei, I think I think I'm gonna die. If my brother is dead, then I'm dead. So if you go back a little bit more, thinking about how Snake whispered something into Clover's ear, it might have been about this. He might have told her about Ace, or just simply the fact that if he's gone, then she's gotta watch out for herself.
あれあれってなんだ？
あれはあれさ。なんなら1の扉に入って見てきたらどうかね。おそらくどこかに隠されているはずだ。
Which one was the one door? That was the captain's quarters.
俺とヤシロだって1の扉には入ったぜ。
ええ。だけど特に怪しいものなんてなかったわ。
だろうな。大階段の前で報告を聞いた時からそうだろうと思っていたよ。
I think there was one unsolved thing in those rooms. Why was the camera pointing at the keypad? I don't think that was ever explained.
君たちはあれを見つけられなかったんだ、多分。だが四つ葉は違うかもしれん。さっきも言った通り、四つ葉はあれと接触した可能性があった。
Zero bracelets? No, that's so easy to find.
だから私は死に物狂いで彼女を探したんだ。やがてたどり着いた場所は一等船室。果たしてそこに彼女の姿はあった。私は彼女のもとへ近づいていき、穏やかな声色で尋ねた。君はあれに会ったのかね。
あれって何？
とぼけるんじゃない。船長室で会ったんだろ。
さあ、何のこと？
Crappy liar.
わかった。いいだろう。ところで四つ葉、こんなところで何をしてる？
To look for the safe.
何って別に。
靴の先に血がついてるな。つい最近ついたもののように見えるが。9番の男の死体でも見に行ったのかね。なるほど。答えないということはどうやら四つ葉。君が気づいてしまったようだね。あの男のバングルがなくなっていることに。
Clover ran. She made for the exit, but Ace stood in her way.
逃がして！
He caught her by the collar as she passed and threw her to the floor, hard.
おとなしくしろ！
He's a cold-blooded killer. She leapt back up and darted past him into the hallway. Ace followed at a run.
当てこむぜ！
He was faster.
これが四つ葉殺害の経緯だ。
His face hadn't changed. If he felt guilt or remorse or anything one might feel after taking the life of another human being, it didn't show. That's why he's the CEO of Cradle.
てめえ。
Seven's whole body trembled with rage, and his voice rumbled with hate. Santa's eyes were bloodthirsty, and Lotus and June's faces were distorted by anger and hatred.
へえ。
Ace looked at them and smiled. It was a cold, cruel thing with no humor in it. He shook his head and sighed.
とにかく私の負けだ。乾杯だよ。だが淳平君、勘違いしないでくれたまえ。私は君に負けたわけではないぞ。私が敗北を喫した相手とはゼロだ。今思えば、どうしてこんなわかりやすい罠にはまってしまったのかと。 自分でも呆れるほどだよ。そう。これは罠だったんだ。私はまんまとゼロの術中にはまり、見事に踊らされてしまったんだ。シャワー室で殺された男。S 音やらが何者なのかはわからない。だが、とにかくあの男にはニルスの服が着せられていた。さらに抵抗を封じるためか、睡眠薬らしきものまで投与されていて、おまけにレッドには、抜き取られたはずの基板が突き刺さっていた。どう考えても、ゼロが全てを仕組んだとしか思えない。
Agreed. Agreed. It's a plan that specifically made use of Ace's face blindness too, so at this current point, I do feel like Zero is Snake. We still don't know where he is!
私にあの男を殺させるよう、ゼロがお膳立てを整えたんだ。
Zero's ultimate goal is to get revenge on Ace. He let him kill the guy so that Junpei could catch him in the lie, so that Ace could be apprehended. It sounds like a little bit too much to think about, but it's Zero. I don't doubt that that's what he expected to happen.
つまり、ゼロには全てお見通しだったというわけさ。私がいずれ9番のバングルを回収するであろうことも、ニルスに対して殺意を抱くであろうことも、全部な。
Suddenly, Junpei remembered the paper he'd found in the safe. He remembered the last words Zero had written on it. I must punish them. For the innocent lives they sacrificed. This is the only warning they will receive. Why is it locked inside a safe? That innocent souls might be saved. I now state the truth. Zero. And he remembered other words he'd heard from Clover.
多分ゼロはこの中にいると思う。
One by one, Junpei looked at the 5 people standing in front of him. Ace, Santa, June, 7, Lotus.
この中にゼロが。いや、待て。もう一人いる。
Snake.
ニルス。シャワー室で爆死したのは彼ではなかった。つまりニルスはまだ生きている可能性が高いってことだ。ならニルスがゼロだということだって十分考えられる。もしかしたらニルスは自分が死んだかのように見せかけるために SO に自らの服を着せたのかもしれない。
I wish Junpei didn't say that. I wish he didn't say, maybe Snake is Zero, because now that he said that and knowing this game, I'm pretty sure he's not Zero.
ニルスは今どこにいるんだ。どこかで俺たちの様子を伺い朝笑っているのかもしれない。目ではなく耳で動向を探る。いや、あるいは外。
I would assume so.
さてと、これで私の告白は終わりだ。そろそろ移動しないかね。
He sounded as though he just finished doing nothing more exciting than describing the weather. For Santa, it was the last straw.
何を寝ぼけたこと言ってんだ。てめえなんざ置き去りにしていくに決まってんだろうが。
なぜ私が四つ葉を殺したからか。バカバカしい。理解できんな。あんなクソガキ一匹殺したぐらいで何をそうムキになる必要がある。ただの他人じゃないか。ほんの数時間前に会ったばかりの。そうだろ。
この野郎！
By that same logic, you're just some random dude here too. We don't have to rescue you. 7 roared and lifted a fist that would likely have shattered Ace's jaw. But someone else was faster. It was Lotus. She stepped toward Ace, raised a fist of her own, and drove it straight into his nose.
いきなりグーとは、いい度胸してるな。だが嫌いじゃないぜ、お前みたいな気の強い女は。
He sniffed and wiped a small trickle of blood from his nose with a raised eyebrow.
だったら、もう一発お見舞いしてあげましょうか。
いや、その前に、もしかしたら私の方からも一発ぶち込ませてもらうことになるかもしれん。
Whoa!
え
Oh my god. Lotus scarcely had time to blink. Ace snaked his arms around her and pulled Lotus's back up against him. In the same motion, he reached into his coat pocket. Fuck! It was a gun. The revolver. Almost lazily, he tilted it to point at Lotus's head.
いいか？指先一つでも動かしてみろ。私は迷わず引き金を引く。もうすでに2人も、いや、3人も殺してるんだ。ためらうことなど何もない。
Is he responsible for the ninth man dying as well?
3人ってどういうことですか？
いいだろう。この際だから教えてやろう。実は9番の男を殺したのも私なんだよ。正確に言うと爆死するように仕向けただけだが、最初に大階段の付近を探索していた時、あの男はこっそりと私のそばに近づいてきて自らの名前を名乗ったんだ。その名前には聞き覚えがあった。私は奴のことを知っていたのだ。
Oh, somebody famous?
そのことに気づいた私は奴の耳元に向かってこう囁いた。どうやらデッドの設定が変えられているらしい。
Oh, so it's somebody who is familiar with the Red and Dead already, because I don't think this was explained to us before Snake talked about it with the group.
一人で認証を行ってもバングルの起爆タイマーは停止できるようだ。後で落ち合おう。お前は先に5の扉の向こうを調べておいてくれ。
Well, it shouldn't be one of the Cradle people because they would recognize each other by face, right? Oh, well, not Ace. But at the very least, it's someone that Ace knows, and that guy knows him as well.
とね。そして
それじゃあ皆さんお達者で、僕は一足お先に失礼させてもらうことにするよ。で、なんでだ、なんで止まらないんだ。話が違うじゃないか。開けてくれ、開けてくれ、頼む。助けてくれ、ここから出してくれ、出してくれ。ダメだ、時間がない。聞いてくれ、僕は騙されたんだ。あいつに。
あの男を始末した理由は4つある。まずこのノナリーゲームにおいて Q がオールマイティな存在になることはさっきも言った通りだ。そんな都合のいい存在を生かしておいてはいずれ脅威にもなりかねない。そこで私は奴を序盤の段階で排除しておくことにしたのだ。そして同じくさっきも言った通り、私は9番のバングルを欲していた。それが手に入ればこのゲームを有利に展開することができるからだ。そのためには奴に死んでもらわなければならなかった。これが2つ目の理由になる。 さらに番号云々を抜きにしても、私にとってあの男の存在は邪魔者以外の何者でもなかった。あの男は私の過去を、9年前の出来事を知っているからだ。そのことを他の者たちに告げられる前に早めに始末しておく必要があった。
He knew what happened here. So 9 years ago, it was the same puzzles, the same stage?
最後の動機はテストのためだ。このノナリーゲームが本気なのか単なる悪ふざけなのか、私はそれを確かめたいと思った。そこで奴がルール違反を犯すように仕向け、その結果を見ることにしたのだ。
3番目の動機だけよくわからない。一体9年前に何があったって言うんだ。
だから言っただろう。ノナリーゲームが行われたんだよ。私が企画して行わせたんだ。
なぜ？目的は何だ？
さあな、そこまで教えてやる義務はない。
God! Ace smirked. He was trying to provoke them, and it was working. Although Ace had paid very little attention to Lotus after catching her, the gun had never wavered from her temple. She looked quite pale, and when she spoke, her voice shook.
ねえ、何なのよ、この銃は。一体、いつの間にこんなものを。
サンタ教えてやってくれ。
When did he take it though? We all left the room together.
6の扉の先、あの貨物室の棺の中にあった銃だな。俺たちが目を離してる隙にこっそりと抜き取ったんだろう。
その通り迂闊だったな。
But it wasn't even in an easy spot to reach. You had to climb over the fence and everything. How the hell were we that careless?
置いていくなんて言い出さなければよかったもの。
Ace laughed, a short derisive snort, and gave Junpei a sickeningly pitying look.
さて、時間がない。そろそろ私は失礼させてもらうことにするよ。
1 plus 8 plus 9 is 9.
どこに行くつもりですか？
決まってるだろう。わからないのかい。私は9番のバングルを持っている。そして今、ヤシロの体を手に入れた。
確か礼拝堂みたいな場所に9の扉があったとかなんとかって言ってたな。そこに向かうつもりか。
ああ、よく知ってるな。
さっき四つ葉を捜索してる時に聞いたんだよ、サンタから。
なるほどな。ま、とにかくそういうわけだから、君たちとはここでお別れだ。あった、さっき言ったこと忘れるなよ。少しでも動けば私は迷わず引き金を引く。いいな。
As he spoke, Ace began backing toward the door, practically dragging Lotus behind him.
このままじゃ逃げられるぞ。
だが奴は本気だ。
Junpei, Santa, June, and Seven stood, frozen. Ace had the face of a man gone mad. They had no doubt he would pull the trigger. Ace had reached the exit.
さあ、ヤシロ、私に代わって扉を開けてもらおうか。
He forced Lotus to open it, then turned and addressed them once more.
それじゃあな。
Then he stepped through the door. It fell shut. In the blink of an eye, they were gone.
くそ。
As soon as Ace and Lotus were gone, Junpei and the others left for the door in pursuit of Ace. Okay, so Ace knows everything about the ship, and he's going to the 9 door. What the hell is behind the 9 door? Is it really the exit? Because I would have thought that the submarine would be the sure way out. Or does the submarine do something completely obtuse, like letting you go to D-deck? But as Junpei laid his hand on the doorknob, there was a noise behind him. He looked over his shoulder. That is recycled art. But geez, again? June was kneeling on the floor, breathing heavily.
おいどうしたんだ紫しっかりしろ
Santa ran to June and wrapped his arm around her before she could collapse all the way.
あすごい熱じゃないか大丈夫か
June's fever had returned, again for no apparent reason. Her eyes were watery and her eyelids drooped. Her breath came in dry, shallow gasps.
大丈夫です。私なら大丈夫ですか？それよりもヤシロさんを。
What the hell is happening to June? She was breathing hard now, and she could barely summon the strength to talk.
いやでも
Junpei was torn. He couldn't leave June alone in the state she was in. But every moment they waited, Ace was farther away, Lotus's life in his hands. What are you guys gonna do even if you catch up? He still has a gun. He's not gonna not have a gun just because you can run to him. What was Junpei supposed to do? June's eyes drifted to Junpei's. She managed to muster a weak smile.
俊平君、私のことなら気にしないでください。ちょっと休めばきっと良くなると思います。ほら、さっきだってその前だってそうだったでしょ。だからお願い、ヤシロさんを、彼女を助けてあげて。
あの一味屋のことだ。おそらく用済みになったらヤシロのことを。
くそ順平セブン先に行っててくれ
This is not good. This is a chance for us to split up again.
紫が回復したらすぐに後を追うだから
Oh, God. Junpei looked at June. She nodded once. She couldn't manage much more. But it was all the confirmation Junpei needed. His resolve was set.
よしわかった行こうセブン一名の後を追うんだ
おう、了解だ。
サンタ紫のこと頼んだぞああ
Santa nodded. Junpei turned before he had a chance to change his mind and started running toward the door. He could hear Seven's heavy footsteps behind him.
よしそれじゃあ行こう
Junpei and Seven exploded into the hallway, their feet pounding the metal floor as they ran.